Okay, I'm working on a 2016 Dodge Journey. I tried to search information on rack and pinion replacement, and there's no videos on the internet or on YouTube. I already got the rack out, but this is what I had to go through. There's a bolt here. It's a 21 mil. I went through here and came out of here. Then you got on the back of the K-frame a bracket and this bolt, which are 16 mils for the small bracket, which will come over here. This is like a supporting bracket for the mount. There's two 16s here. There's 21. It's kind of a complicated job, but I mean, especially if you were at home. And then this has a heat shield that wraps around. This comes all the way around. See how I bent it a little bit? And there's 10 mil here and a 10 mil on this side, right there. And then this one I got with the ratchet wrench. This one I reached over the back side with an air ratchet. But once you get those two bolts out, you can either one or two things: fight with these rosebuds and break them, or just bend it out of your way like I did. Just bend it out of the way. It's easy. It's aluminum, bends real easy. For the steering joint, which is right here, and you can see my little mark tapping on it right there. But that's the 13 mil. Very simple. Tap it, slide it out. Another issue, once I got that down, there's this right here. It had 4 16s, and that belongs here. Now that wraps around. This is the trans mount. This wraps around the rack, so you have to remove this, which slides up into here, right? So you can see where that was. And then there's a bolt on this side, bolt right here, and you pull that through, which allows you to drop the subframe down. Then once you drop the subframe down with the rack still attached, you have to undo the knuckle. Nice. Made a mess. Anyways, great. So anywho, back to what I was explaining here. Let me set this down. Now I got oil all over the darn place. But anyways, I figured I'd make a video because there's no information out there. And I went ahead and took the lines off and just tied them up. And what I did is I clamped the return line right here in the wheel well. Like, see, here's the wheel well. And I came in here with a pair of vice grips. And so you have to be careful when you do this. You'll feel it when you have it just right. You'll feel it like the way it squishes when you tighten it down. You don't want to over squish it, but you want to squish just enough to cut the flow, the fluid out of it. And as long as that pump don't turn, it didn't drain out much at all. So hopefully I won't have a whole lot of air to bleed out. But the exhaust stays up and everything. Just go ahead and just lower it down. But doing this on the ground, I could see it being a big pain, but I'm at work and doing it on the hoist. See, I just left the links on and the lower ball joints, and it stays up in place for me. But that's it. If anybody wants to at least see what they're getting into doing a 2016 Journey rack, and reason why it was replaced already once here by another mechanic, and he's already gone, but he replaced it because turning to the left would be hard, and then it would get soft, and then turning to the right was normal, and just turning to the left one direction would get hard and then loosen and pop and make noises. Well, they came back. This was done 10 months ago, and they came back last week, stating that they had a vibration noise when turning the steering wheel back and forth. So I took a look at it, and I assumed it was the the steering column itself, because you could feel a vibration, a humming vibration when you turn the wheel back and forth in your hand. It would vibrate your hand. When I inspected it, I felt a little play in the bearing and the steering column, so I just assumed it sounded like a noise like the boot. That's another thing this had an issue with, is there's no boot in there for the steering shaft. It goes straight up. Like if you look in here, that goes right through. Now, I don't know if there was a boot on it, but this is how I got to the job. This is how the job was already done. I don't know if the kid had lost that boot or anything, but normally you would hear that noise, like a rubber vibrating noise. That's that boot, the collar that goes around the steering shaft. And once I figured out I didn't have it, I just assumed it was the column. I mean, I was told the rack was changed. There was no problem with the steering as far as that goes. And so I get to the job, and I never done one. So I wanted to look it up, just give myself a little heads up what tools I needed to grab and whatnot, and what I needed to do. And I couldn't find no information on it. So I figured I'd make a video. But anyways, back to the steering column. I put the steering column in assuming that was the issue, and I get it back together, and still the same thing vibrating in my hand. So I lift it up, and I disconnect the steering from the steering column and started the vehicle, and put a pair of vice grips on the rack itself here at the shaft, because the shaft's about right here. I went ahead and and you could feel it noise in the rack, which is a rebuilt rack. We didn't get a new unit, so now we're gonna put another rebuilt rack in it, and hopefully that'll take care of that weird vibration noise. It vibrated all the way up to the steering wheel in your hand. It would make your hand feel numb. Well, any questions or comments, I'll be glad to answer. I'm the kind of guy, once I do a job once, I can do it again and again and again without looking it up. I just kind of want to clarify. But a lot of 16 mils, which is not common. Oh, there's another thing, is there's a cross brace that goes from here all the way across and into this front. Let me get into a better location. There's a front trans mount, and that goes across and hooks in from these bolts, which is right there. That's got to come down as well. And it just off the mount, there's two bolts. One had a balancer weight on it. They had this balancer weight on. I believe it was this front one, I'm pretty sure. And then one of these studs, the sleeve to the stud, see how this sleeve, the sleeve stayed in here, but the other, and be careful when you lower it down, because I had to chase around this rubber that came off of there, which is, come on, focus, right here. This stud stays, it doesn't just come off. It's like not a stud, but like a sleeve, and the other one come right off. But watch it when you loosen it up to not lose the rubber, because I looked all over the place. I was so frustrated. And of course, you know, the last place you look is where it was, and it always happens to be under your cart. I mean, here I am working over here, right, and it hits the ground and rolls under the center of the cart, of course. But any questions or comments, let me know. Hope you guys are doing okay with this corona quarantine. Never slowed down for us here at work. I mean, I'm not saying never slowed down. It slowed down quite a bit. So I hope this video helps out anybody that is also looking up a rack replacement on a Dodge Journey. Well, here it is. You guys have a good day.